Kevin Harvick brings it home 4 times, his best finish of the year. Kevin, what was that like from your perspective? This race had a little bit of everything.
It did, yeah. We definitely didn't like to see the 22 flying around in the air right in front of us, but our dog Brew Bush Ford Mustang was good all day. We raced all day. I got kind of slid to left front there and got a speeding penalty at one point. We were able to stay on the lead lap, but everybody did a great job, and cars rolling 2 speedway races in a row, so I think that's a first for us. So we just need a little bit of momentum. The cars have run good on the speedways. Hopefully next week we've got everything together at Kansas, and we can have a good day.
Thank you.
Brad Keselowski, the winner. William Byron's second place finish was his 8th straight top 10. That's the best streak by a Hendrick driver. It's
Welcome into the Stickers and Scuffs YouTube channel. We are reviewing the end of the Talladega Super Speedway weekend for the NASCAR Cup Series and the NASCAR Xfinity Series. If you did not see it, Brad Keselowski gets the victory, and Jeb Burton gets a rain-shortened victory at Talladega. Of course, the biggest news story to come out of this, Matt DiBenedetto unable once again to secure a victory at Talladega. Just a poor lane choice in the end. Lots of talk about Joey Logano's comments after his flip. Want to know from you what your opinion was on this race, whether or not you found it a very entertaining race, whether it was a great race to watch. Obviously, we have a lot to dive into here. One of the things that we can definitely say is that racing at these plate tracks is dangerous. It's fast. It isn't, typical. But Stephen Gibson, thank you for tuning in, my friend. Yeah, it predicted a Joey Logano flip and Keselowski winning. I think Brad might want to decide to continue using iRacing. I know he doesn't do it that often, but if it pays off like it did today, it might be something that he wants to consider in the future. Overall, Talladega is what we typically see now. Plate racing is not what it was in the early 2000s. As much as I would love it to be like that and love it to be that anybody could get up front and lead and win the races, it's just not a reality in this day and age. The reality of it is that we're going to see a lot more wrecks like what we saw today with Joey, because the runs that the drivers get are way more extreme. They are indeed way more important in terms of knowing how to control your car when you get a run. One thing that we've kind of seen in the last couple of years at these tracks and these races specifically is that the racing is just not, it's not there because it all comes down to those last couple of laps. And once again, it did it again today. Now, there was obviously a shuffling of Harrison Burton at the end, but he did a fantastic job and unfortunately didn't get the finish that that team really deserved. He kind of got shuffled out on the last restart, but I think really the reality of it is this is what the plate racing package is going to be like. And while they did have a lot more people up front, they had moments where we got to see Bubba Wallace out front, where we got to see obviously names like Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski. Now, Brad didn't even get up there until the very end. Toyotas were very, very strong. But once again, it is a Ford that wins. And Brad Keselowski is somebody who is always a threat that you have to look out for on the plate tracks, it is something that, we have to remember, really, is that anytime you go to one of these races, Penske cars will be tough. Michael McDowell once again came out of nowhere and finished third. He continues to do very well. Anthony Alfredo had a good finish. His best finish, I think, 12th. And at the end of the day, we didn't have a huge wreck, which I'm glad of. We didn't have a Daytona where we lost a third of the field a couple laps into the race. So obviously Talladega is one thing. I hate Kozlowski because of his political opinion, James. Well, that's completely up to you, right? You're allowed to like or dislike drivers for whatever reason that you have, right? If he has a political opinion, that's fine. He's allowed to have that, and you're allowed to like or dislike whoever you want, right? Bok Choice, thanks for tuning in, Bok Choice. Appreciate it. Matty D messed up by going up to. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Stage racing sucks. I wish they would go back old school and run as many laps without. Yeah, I agree. I specifically for like, and I understand now. Mark Urban on Twitter pointed out the other day that, and it was something that I really liked, and it was, okay, you can have stage racing, okay, you can have it, but don't stop the race and make a caution for it, okay? So that, yeah, you can award points to the top 10 at that specific time, but don't throw a caution flag. We wouldn't have a lot of these races that go an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours long, because you wouldn't have to be throwing the caution time in, time out. It is unnecessary to have the caution flag flying that many times in a race. But this is the product, okay? We're going to see this type of racing until they change something. This is the reality, okay? That is what you're going to see. We saw it at Daytona. We saw it here again at Talladega. It was going to happen regardless, okay? You could see it from a mile away. When they started doing the train, you're like, this is exactly what we saw for the last couple of races. They get into the train, they stay in the train, and then with a couple laps to go, now they saved by the caution flag for Truex, which I don't know why he didn't pit when he had the flat tire in the first place, but this is what you're going to get. It is going to be like this. They are always going to have that until they change the package. The reality is what you see now is huge runs that normally result in wrecks. That Joey Logano wreck today was not the fault of one specific driver. I know a lot of people are going to throw that on Ricky Stenhouse Jr. or throw that on Denny Hamlin. But if you go back and you watch, it's the same wreck that we have seen multiple times at the plate races in the past couple of years. It is the exact same. Too much momentum from the cars behind. They push and push and push. The car at the beginning was not expecting such of a big rush. Now, it just so happened that when Ricky started to push Denny was moving out. And of course, when you're moving and you get hit, you're automatically going to jerk the other way, right? Because you're going the opposite, right? So if you're moving one way and somebody hits you the other way, you're going to automatically turn, right? So that's exactly what happened. At the end of the day, though, the racing itself, very solid, I thought, for the most part. There was some stages where we got side-by-side racing most of the race. That was fantastic. I think a lot of people do still hold out in the back, and that's still a strategy. And that's perfectly fine. They are allowed to have that strategy. They can easily hang out in the back and then wait for, quote, the wrecking to happen. A bad day for Hendrick Motorsports all around. William did almost get up there and win that race, but Kyle Larson, basically, day was done before the race even really started. And Alex Bowman was involved in a wreck. Chase Elliott was involved in it. He didn't get much damage, but it wasn't the same, unfortunately. And like I said, then Byron was also involved in that, but was able to make his way back up. If I would say whether or not the race itself was great, I would say it was a typical plate race from what we see nowadays. And that's not shitting on it. That's what we get now. Yesterday's race, of course, impacted by rain. Jeb Burton gets the win for Cowlig Racing. I don't know how many races in a row now that Cowlig has been the car and the team to beat, but they won it yesterday. And I mean, we could say that, yeah, it was a rain-shortened event and that they should have waited, and the difference, and that they should have lights. And people need to remember that, okay, to make an investment at a racetrack like, say, Talladega, that only has 2 major events at it all year round. Now, they might have local series that race there. They might have concerts and so on. That's great. But to do a major investment like that, to put lights in for a track that size, is not a small feat, right? Why do you think it took so long for Martinsville to do it, right? So you have to, and the other thing you have to remember is that it would have taken a couple hours to dry that track, right? If the sun was going to come back out. At the end of the day, I'm happy to see that. I think Jeb Burton is somebody that has, definitely worked his way back into an opportunity. And I just remember seeing that video that Nutrin Ag Solutions posted, Cowlig Racing posted, with Ward Burton and Jeb, and how emotional that was for the two of them. Jeb Burton has fought and fought and fought. If you remember, Jeb started his career with Turner Scott. He got an opportunity to go straight up into Cup. That didn't really pan out for him. He then was bounced around in the Xfinity Series for many, many years. And Kenneth Terry, nice to see you, my friend. And it was, the fact that he's been able to come back and now he had a career. And one thing, you can say is that Jeb does have some supporters. He has some companies like LS Tractor and obviously State Water Heaters that have been behind him for many, many years. But at the end of the day, he needed to be running up front. And I think Jeb being in the playoffs will make him be a lot more aggressive, which I think can be a good thing. I think Jeb Burton is trying to reinvent himself, and I think he is. I think we all kind of knew that Ross Chastain wasn't going to be the full-time guy at Cowlig Racing. He was waiting until he got his Cup opportunity. Well, I don't know if we're going to see that with Jeb, if he's going to be moving up to Cup with Cowlig. Obviously, I would say that the likelihood is that their main ideas are to take Justin Haley up to Cup with them, and then potentially have a veteran in AJ Allmendinger to move up as well. Bok Choi's, if Matty D had stayed low, I really feel that first career win and 100th for Wood Brothers would have come today. Great race, though, and congrats to Brad getting his 6th Dega win. Race was 4 out of 10. I'm going to go a little higher. I'd say this was a 6 out of 10. One of the things that I hate to say is I really don't feel that the racing itself has, to me, it's not a must watch anymore. And because it's kind of just been predictable that you typically will have a train for a good bit of the race, and then you will also have a big crash. You'll have somebody do something stupid, and at the end of the day, that's kind of similar to what we saw today. Michael McDowell, Kenneth Terry, Michael McDowell almost got another one. He did. And I felt that if he had continued with that run, now he split and went high when he probably should have stayed still, because I feel if he'd waited just a little bit longer, he would have had the better run on the high side. It's always, of course, it's difficult to plan when you're going to step out and make that move. But I think at the end of the day, people they wait so long because it's so easy for that front car to just pull away. Matty D completely goofed on this one. His spotter completely goofed. And we've seen that. Tony Stewart in the, what was it, the 2010 Daytona 500, or was it the 2008? Newman's win in the Daytona 500 when he and Kurt worked together. And Tony went low to block Kyle Busch instead of going high to block Newman, and lost the Daytona 500 that way. It's the same kind of situation as we've seen Matty D, his decision-making and or the team decision-making hasn't really been there. But the other thing to remember is he is potentially still in a contract year. Now, I say potentially because there's, he did post on social media that he's excited to drive the new Ford for next year. So that could be a clue in as to potentially if he's not obviously going to be with the Wood brothers next year, but maybe he's being linked to another Ford team. Obviously, there could be some openings at Stewart-Haas Racing next year. There could be openings at Front Row Motorsports. There could be openings at Penske Racing. Now, do I know for sure if he's going to be the one to move in? And I mean, there's options there. There's definitely options because Brad, as we know, is only a 1-year deal. Brad has his own sponsors, but some of those sponsors have a previous history with Ryan Blaney, Discount Tire. So if Keselowski is somebody that's on the move, and this is obviously just potentially, I don't know, this is just part of silly season. It's what makes it fun. If he is on the move, then does Ryan move to the 2 and the 21 and the 12 become DiBenedetto? I only say that because currently the 12 has Menards. Menards currently sponsoring Matty D. Paul Menard was instrumental in picking Matt DiBenedetto to take over the 21. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we can decide who we want to go with. But overall, I'd say the race was good. I'd say the weekend was predictable. Would love to know what everybody else thought. Leave a comment, give us a like and a subscribe. We're always open for that. If you can, follow us on Twitter, on Instagram. Thank you guys for tuning in for a little bit of a wrap up on our Talladega weekend. Make sure you check in tomorrow at noon for the Stickers and Scuffs episode with Alex LeBay. Our interview with Alex will be live at 12 o'clock. You can also find it on Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Obviously, our video interview is available on our YouTube channel at noon tomorrow. So anyways, I've got a vacuum up here and vacuum up the cat here and vacuum up the home office here for tomorrow from working from home. So have yourselves a great night. Brad K takes home the victory. Colton Herta takes home the win in IndyCar. And of course, Jeb Burton wins yesterday in the Xfinity Series. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll catch you